Hi, I'm Carcina.
Oh, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it.
No one knows Carcino and none of these.
There's so much going on in the world, and I'm just giving my 2 cents on it. Go in and do a raid at someone's house, but you don't have an arrest warrant for them. What's up? Look at this, people. I want you to see this because I want you to understand what it's about. This is Lion Clark, who works for ESPN. Sorry about that. That was a little loud. And when you start doing things that are counterproductive or don't make a lot of sense, it's not in the best look for you. You run into different obstacles, right? Cam Newton did a show that had nothing to do with Ryan Clark. On 4th and 1 with Cam Newton, Ryan Clark decided to respond for Stephen A. Smith, who's a grown man who could speak for himself. But he decided to intervene with something that had nothing to do with Ryan Clark. And Ryan Clark says, if someone shows you love, has you on their show twice a week at least, you don't bring his known enemy on your show and allow your guests to talk it about person. That's not G at all. Loyalty is at a minimum these days. I hate when people like Ryan Clark use words like that's not G. What's G? Huh? What's G? He's a G now? You see what I'm saying? It's not a G. He's a former professional athlete. One, search it yourself, but he was ranked much higher at his job. You made it sound as if, Ryan Clark, that Stephen A. Smith helped this man out like he was on his last leg. And he threw a lifeline to Cam Newton to pull him in. And he saved him. He put you on their show. First off, it's ESPN's show, Ryan Clark. Stephen A. Smith can't approve anybody that ESPN don't approve of. So he actually brings something to the table of value. The reason that they went after him, they sought Cam Newton. And say someone is his sworn enemy. Did you ever once think, Ryan Clark, that that person has said things about Cam Newton? And that's what the purpose of them there. They were unpacking these things he said about his friends and including himself. That's what they were unpacking. But the hypocrisy with Ryan Clark goes a long way. You want to go down memory lane? Bringing a guest to talk stuff about another person on your show? You want to talk about that, Ryan Clark, and how you got the name Ryan Clark? Well, let's go through it, ladies and gentlemen. I know firsthand from first person experience. It all goes back to here. The Pivot Podcast. Kwame Brown was the biggest thing on the internet. Everybody wanted to sit down and interview with him. And we both was watching a safe place for him to go out and do an interview without them exploiting him. And the Pivot Podcast seemed like the perfect choice because how they did Jamarcus Russell and how they did with Michael Beasley, how those interviews flushed them out where they could really get their story off. And I said, man, KB, this seemed like the place to go. Ryan Clark seems like a good brother. You know, this seems like a safe place to do this. And the interview was a success. Over 2 million views. It still today gets watched. and still climbs. So this was a great business for them. After this, he came on the show saying, I don't want to talk about Gilbert Arenas. And that was his statement point. I didn't want to talk about Gil. They asked one thing about Gil, and he said like one line about Gilbert Arenas. And then Gil got upset, I guess, and called the Pivot Podcast and wanted Lion Clark to edit something out of the show. So he contacted Channing. And when he did so, he deleted some messages that he sent in typical Gil fashion and sent what Channing was saying over to Kwame to make it look like he was talking about Kwame behind, Ryan, behind Kwame's back, like after the show was over. So after this was done, after all of this was done, Ryan Clark comes on Kwame's platform because he see Kwame is upset. So Ryan Clark wanted to come by and do what he, and breeze the situation over. And when he did, to explain everything that happened, I was not in the know of what happened. So Ryan Clark appeared and Kwame asked me to come up there so I could pull up receipts that I had queued up, ready to go, and I can give another account to what was happening with his sit down or his interview with Ryan Clark. Plus, Kwame was on location. Ryan Clark was in location, and he came over to speak about the situation because Gil had created this whole atmosphere. And listen to what he had to say.
Thought process, I'm not going to give this life. I'm not going to give him life because in a sense, and I had an opportunity, man, not first of all, Kwame, I just want to say thank you. What you did in coming on the Pivot, man, and the lives that I feel like you touched and the perceptions you changed of people who have lied on you or said certain things about you, man, I'm forever grateful for having an opportunity to be a part of that. But you are bigger than this. You do have a heart for the community. You do have a thought process that will continue to elevate, but this doesn't elevate it. Replaying what he's saying or playing into that or going back and forth with him, he doesn't have anything else to talk about. So much so, and I can share this, he reached out to us about taking something out of the Pivot that was about him. And in doing that and communicating with Channing, he unsends his messages so he can only screenshot what Channing said in response to him reaching out. To me, that is not a man that is continually worth your energy, right? There was nothing said from Channing's side.
Then why did you interview him?
There is going to be no ongoing beef because he's not worth that energy. But every time you guys come on here and speak on him again, it just gives him something else to go and talk about because he's not going to be thoughtful enough, mindful enough, right? Forward thinking enough to have something else. We are like, even now, something's probably going to be said about this because they need this energy, right? They're going to need to be able to say that Ryan Clark was speaking with Kwame and speaking with Carcino, and he said this about me. Here's what I think about Ryan Clark.
Now, here's the thing. Yes, that is how it works on the internet. Okay, everybody has an action and a reaction. So this was what you missed with Cam Newton. Now, he goes ahead to do this with us, only to turn around and do this. He goes ahead to put Gilbert Arenas on the show after he just said, I don't know Gil, but he's not the kind of person I would even deal with. You just got through telling us Like, I wouldn't even deal with him based off what he did with Channing, who sit right there. That's the quality of a man I wouldn't even sit down with. And here he is on the Pivot Podcast.
This though, like, and I like you, right? Because I got a little a-hole to me too. So I get it, but you won though, Gil. Like you won, bro. Like even with all.
And he won. That was his take. You won, Gil. You really won. That, to me, showed and told me everything I needed to know about Ryan Clark. It was the most surprising and disappointing moments I have ever seen. Because here's the thing. If you was going to interview this man,
all that you've gone through,
and let's say y'all had a phone call, right? And y'all hashed it out. You and Gil hashed out whatever, or Channing, he apologized, anything. The least you could have done, knowing all of the things that went on that he was doing to Kwame Brown, who chose to come on your show, and you went on his, you didn't even reach out to Kwame and say, hey, I'm about to have Gil on. You know, we talked it out. This is where we at. You know, I didn't want you to be blindsided. And if you gonna do it and you gonna interview him, that's cool, but you brought up Kwame's name so that he could talk about Kwame. And as far as my knowledge, they've never spoke again. Kwame and Ryan Clark. So, you know, that's just is what it is. You got so many people out here. A lot of them don't make any sense. I'm serious. A lot of them just don't make any sense. And I feel that when you see these people come into each other's existence, they have their own agendas. So when you start seeing this situation with Cam Newton and everything else, you start to look at it with a side eye. Because now you see, is this Ryan Clark reading a script? Is he playing a narrative? Dude did in 2025, all he did was apologize. He popped shit, apologized, got the logo on the lapel. It's like, what is he doing? I was like, oh, was he this way the whole time? So when Marcellus Wiley tell his story, and I go, this goes back to what Marcellus Wiley was saying about Ryan Clark. Okay. Now you start to put the pieces of the puzzle together, that this isn't just a singular moment. This is his character. He's playing a role. He's trying to say everything right because he wants to be like the life coach rather than actually being that example. And what you're starting to see is somebody that's really a shiesty dude behind the scenes move entirely different and move a different way. Now the Brandon Marshall situation look a little different. Everything's going to look different now because of how he just did this in real time. Y'all get to see it in real time. And if he just did this, what else? What else is he willing to do? What else is he willing to do? So Cam addressed him for speaking out. when jumping into something that it had no business. And Cam brought to the forefront that you and him had a conversation already. He had no idea you had went to Twitter with him. But you and him already had a conversation, and he left it at a conversation. But I'll let him handle it.
Ron Terry, you know I rock with you. But just like any situation where there's some type of brotherhood, we're going to have our disagreements. So you mean to tell me that you going to tell me who me can and can't have on me platform?
Yeah. That's what he meant, my platform, but yeah.
This was never about Jason Whitlock and Stephen A. Smith. The reason why I decided to bring Jason Whitlock on 4th and 1 was because Jason Whitlock had strong takes that I wanted to talk man to man about. And what better way to ease all that than through conversation? It's my job as a creator to bring people together to have the uncomfortable conversation. I didn't have no ill intent for Jason to come on and have him speak all this nonsense about said person. He said a lot of things. Stephen A. Smith was the one that responded. I have so much respect and appreciation to my brother in content as a former athlete, as a very well-spoken individual that has opened doors for the likes of me and the others. But one thing that's not going to happen is a puppet string attached to my back. Every single coach, player that I've ever played with knew that. I'm going to do things how I want to do it. Respectfully. Don't micromanage me. Don't tell me what I can and can't do if this is the bylaws of the game that we're playing. Stephen A. Smith, Shannon Sharp, Deion Sanders, and Ryan Clark. Those are the people who I respect. African-American brothers in this media space, once upon a time, and they all had something negative to say about Cam. But what they can do, I didn't run a Twitter. I understand that. That comes with it. So you mean to tell me you talk about people for a living and you get mad when somebody talks about you? That's what it is. We all have our own opinion.
So people gonna have their opinion about you.
Regardless. I've seen the likes of the Arsenio Halls, the Jay Lenos, the Oprah Winfreys have discussions with people that they had to allow their guests to speak, no matter if they agreed with it or not. Every time you hear, welcome to 4th and 1, well, I always got it. It's getting people's attention.
Cam is absolutely right. You know, you're going to stagnate your platform by.
Shouts out to Across the Association. Listen, I want to say this. He's had to address Ryan Clark before because Ryan Clark has always thrown shots at Cam Newton because Cam Newton moves the way he moves, and they hate it because he can do that, and they can't. If Ryan Clark was moving like Cam, dressing like Cam, he couldn't get a job. He mad he got to talk the way he talk and be a life coach and try to be the guy he's not. He wants to be Jay Williams. He want to be that guy. He want to so bad. But I know the truth. Cam knows the truth. But he always going to come at you with respect and love because he has no reason to hate you. Y'all were not in the same league. Let's see about it.
That we want to attack the messenger, Ryan Clark. Okay, let's pull up your stats. Second team All-SEC, we cannot relate. Undrafted in 2002, we cannot relate. Then you have one Pro Bowl in 2011, we cannot relate. So if you want to unlock Petty Cam and everything that Cam Newton has ever said on this 4th and 1 show has always been backed by merit and logic, but some way, shape, form, people keep attacking Cam, the person, or why he didn't jump on the fumble.
Woo! And that's it. We'll leave it right there. Shouts out to Kwame Brown, Bus Life. Don't forget to go to the Patreon, Casino for Life. And yes, we are out.